Welcome to this special edition of the People's Commission. We have a guest podcast host today, coming all the way from the Sunshine State. He was tired of being disrespected, used and abused. His talent's not appreciated.
It isn't.
So he came to a company that he knew would give him that respect. Vince, welcome to the pod.
Make no mistake, Bob. This is the Pod Boys podcast.
Oh!
What are you
I
talking
don't
about?
know. I don't
This
see
is
it.
the Pod Boys, baby.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Bennett's here in spirit. He's serving his suspension right now. I can't believe what he did. Maybe you want to talk about that for a second. I don't know what happened
Oh
behind
yeah,
the scenes.
we
But,
should get into that. Good,
But,
good idea,
you know,
Lee.
but
Yeah.
yeah.
No. That was nothing but magnificent pandering by Alex, because when I invited you guys to be on that pod right after the big trades with Joe went down, I'm gonna drop a bomb on you guys. Joe knew that I was asking other people to be on the pod. So as much as Alex thought he was having a little side fling with me,
How did you know I know?
Joe's the kinky wife watching from the closet.
Yeah, how did you know I know?
Like, we talked about it.
Oh,
I told you like, hey, I might have them on the pod that day, remember? And I was like,
Yeah.
but if we can't get them, like me and you will just set a time. We never even ended up doing it. But that was the same podcast that Alex is
Oh, okay.
referencing.
I'm talking about the one before Sunday when you tried to get those fuckers on after my Henderson.
Oh,
trade.
like when I sent the voice message out, being like,
Yeah.
hey, if you've been fucked in this deal,
Yes.
whatever. Did we already went over that trade too, right? Or no? Or is that, no, that's gotta be on
No,
this
it's on
list.
here.
Okay. Well, guys, we're gonna keep it pretty quick today. It is Sunday morning. It's 11 a.m. We're gonna go out to lunch after this, but we're already drinking, as you can see. So cheers to the league. My plan was to have a white t-shirt with beat league written on it today, but I unfortunately don't have any white tees anymore. I don't know what happened to those from my childhood, but we're just gonna run through the trades, get everybody's opinion. Vinny's got a couple of panic button players for you. I know if you're a member of this league, you get a panic button player from Vinny. That guy's gotta be on the move, right? We can't possibly trust having him on our team. And then we'll go through the matchups really quick and get out of here. So without further ado, let's start right at the top. The first trade that happened, it's been a long time since we've done a pod.
Yeah.
I think the pod boys might have covered this one a little bit. It involved you, so
Yeah.
we want to get your perspective, and Vinny can chime in too, but it was TJ Hawkinson, a first and a second from Cybulski to you for AJ Brown. The first was 2024, so was the second. Thoughts?
We were talking.
Vinny
I thought
messaged me
that-
right
I-
after. It was like, I like this trade for you.
Get the fuck out
I
of
swear
here.
to God, he was the only one.
So I don't. Oh, really?
Well, no, I think Lee might have too.
So I'll go on record saying I don't mind AJ Brown. I don't mind him. My value on AJ Brown was a single first round pick. I believe I offered that to Alex before, single first round pick for AJ Brown. Adding Hawkinson and a second round pick, I think Joe Commissioner got a little bit more value than what I thought he could for AJ Brown.
My thinking was one, Calvin Ridley hadn't come out and
Of course,
said his shit.
sure,
If that happens, I probably don't trade him.
Fair.
To be frank.
right.
Wow, that's
The thing is, AJ Brown, I view Hawkinson as a first plus. Like no one's trading him for a first
Probably
if he's
not.
on your team.
Right,
So first plus a second.
right.
I got a first and then another second. So 2 firsts and 2 seconds for AJ Brown, who has been volatile.
Sure.
I mean, that's why I did it. Like, does it help my team this year? Probably not. But is the difference between T. Higgins and AJ Brown that much?
Right.
I don't know.
In some weeks, no.
In
Right,
some ways, no. And my thing is like, I got Kelsey. After next year, he's gone.
right,
I'm trying, like, Hawkinson had, I don't know, 90 yards last week.
right.
I want the tight end.
My reaction was based almost solely on the fact that less than 2 weeks earlier, DeAndre Hopkins at 112 went for an earlier Cybulski first and a Cybulski second. So if Hopkins is worth a first and a second, then at $112, AJ Brown to me is absolutely
Oh, worth more. Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know.
You know,
I understand.
And you did
It's a
get
good
more.
point.
You got
Yeah, I
more. You got a
know.
first, a second, and Hawkinson. But to me, I don't know. Maybe I am like an AJ Brown believer, but at $3, still very extendable, has shown peaks that are top 5.
Yeah,
Cybulski has to keep him.
Right.
yeah. He's got to extend.
I think he's a really valuable player in fantasy.
I agree.
AJ Brown.
I agree.
But I mean, so is Hawk. I get it.
Right. And the first.
And the
Like,
first.
So I both got a good player, but I felt like I didn't lose value on him. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe I'm just a little bitter because, Julio Jones, little hobbled, and then AJ lights it up. And people just coming to me about Mike Evans having, Godwin out there and all these different targets, Gronkowski, and it's like, hey,
Yeah,
AJ Brown finally.
I think everyone watching knows that a live Evans trade is gonna go down on this pod. And I haven't been clued into that, but I would be shocked if these two.
I
don't
thought
have
about it
something
all
in the
morning
hopper.
texting Vince. I didn't do it though. I almost brought my Mike Evans jersey to wear it under this, and then live off for Vince and just rip it off.
Oh, I was really hoping I swiped you guys on that.
Fuck.
All right, well, that's good insight. We have a lot of trades to get to. That one was good.
Sorry.
And I think you can make an argument for either side. Joe gets himself a top 5 tight end that he can play for the foreseeable future. I think that was the motivation. Bennett and Lee in the next trade, a really interesting one where Bennett gives a 2nd round pick for Allen Robinson, takes that cap from Lee. That's a gift.
Yeah.
And also burns a star trade.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
just drive the dagger in all your.
yeah. I mean, he didn't get traded. Done.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw what he was trying to do, but I also didn't believe that he was going to get traded, so I didn't like it.
He didn't have to offer that much.
I mean, right. But I mean, a 2nd is pretty much the least you're going to give. For,
I
you think like a bench player would have been more appropriate?
Well, I offered Lee to swap 2nd round picks, and he's going to do it just to clear space.
Sure. Yeah.
But and then he was like, when Lee was like, I'm going to do your trade, and then Alex came through. So
Yeah. Good example of how you could have given less. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he was droppable, right?
Oh, absolutely.
$99, like he 100% droppable.
right. I mean-
But Alex took a shot on him being
Yeah, I
traded.
mean, I
So it's a
get
gamble.
the thinking.
Right. It's a gamble.
Could have gotten more. That's all.
Could've gotten more. All right. Fuck that trade. The next one, also involving Bennett and Lee, was a 1st and 2 seconds. So let's use this and reflect on the AJ Brown trade as well. A 1st and 2 seconds for DJ Moore.
Mhm. 1st and 2 seconds.
One of them is, I mean, they're one of the first is yours and the second.
So I gave up AJ Brown. I got a 1st,
a 2nd and Hawk.
a 2nd, and Hawk.
He gave up DJ Moore
And got a 1st and
in
2
2
seconds.
seconds. Is it overvaluing more or undervaluing more? We received more, obviously.
Okay. With the free agent crop next year, I think Lee's going to regret it after the season. He didn't need to make the trade. Is why he'll regret it. Like just
Yeah, a little bit of a strange trade to me.
he's got like
DJ
5
Moore.
startable wideouts.
I talked about it before. I mean, DJ Moore hasn't been doing good. He hasn't been doing well at all.
I mean, the Panthers started what 4-0.
And to me, it gives Lee a little bit of a tough decision. Hold on a second. Let me get DJ Moore here. DJ Moore hasn't gotten more than 8 points the past 4 weeks. So you do that trade, you lose a 1st round pick, and then you're like, do I start Diggs? Do I start Lamb? Mike Williams? Moore?
Should have got more for AJ Brown.
Who else does he have?
That was the point of me asking this,
Right.
right?
DJ
So-
Moore is kind of like a name guy. I don't know.
A little bit.
Like, to me, if you're gonna give up that 1st round pick and those 2 seconds, you want to have a no-brainer.
For an extended guy that's on an extended contract.
Yeah. It was a bit of you selling low on AJ Brown a bit because he had had a rough start to the season. And I feel like Lee paid peak price for DJ
Yeah.
Moore, who had a really good start to the season and has tapered off.
Yeah.
And I think what we've seen out of DJ Moore this year is a bit indicative of how he normally is. He has these stretches of a few games where he's a top 10 wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean,
but his floor is almost non-existent.
it's true.
So do we hate it or love it?
For Lee, I hate it. For Alex, I love it. And I think we saw Lee that day, and he was like, I don't know why I did that either.
Oh, he said that?
Yeah. He woke up in a mood, I think. It just is like, he smashed the yes button.
It happens to all of us.
It does.
We'll talk about one of my trades later on where that might have been involved as well. I will say, interestingly, that now that Lee did end up trading Kamara, which we'll talk about later, this trade almost makes a little bit more sense because he is starting DJ Moore essentially every week. But let's move on to the next one. This one involves someone who may or may not be here and not on screen. Jeff and Bennett swapped a Cybulski 2023 first and David Montgomery. The story here, I'll just go ahead and say it, might be more around the trade that didn't happen that allowed this trade. to
Yeah,
happen.
I don't know what's going on with that. Actually, you did post it. You
There's
did
some
post
background
it.
shit to that.
I think I sent it. I don't know if I
Yeah,
sent it.
no,
did
you
I?
sent it. You sent the offer.
It was, yeah. So I'll say, before we get into Jeff's trade for Monty, that I love David Montgomery, right? Always have. You guys know that.
Yeah.
I think getting him from Vince last year for a first was one of the better moves that I made because I bought low when he had a bad season, really easy rest of the year, and he did well. And he has an easy rest of the season now, too. So Alex is offering me these trades for Michael Carter the day that Derrick Henry is announced out, right? So
Yeah.
I am in a whirlwind of emotion.
Wait, who's Alex, you said?
Yeah, Alex. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do to recoup this massive loss of production from my starting lineup. And to Alex's credit, as he always does, he decided he wanted Michael Carter, and he came with way more aggressive offers than I have ever received for Michael Carter. And I in hindsight, I should have done the trade. Of course. I mean, everybody knows that looking at what was
Yeah.
offered. He offered me David Montgomery, Jalen Hurts, and 2 seconds for Michael Carter, straight up. At the time, I know.
Wow.
I know. At the time, like I said, I had just lost Henry. I was trying to make a plan to recoup that, and I wasn't sure that I wanted to buy into injured David Montgomery that had this surging backfield mate in Khalil Herbert.
Right. We don't know how it's gonna play out yet.
We don't.
I can see Khalil Herbert getting a massive share. I texted Ben immediately, like, what's going on? Like I was like, what happened to Herbert? Why,
Right.
what's going on? He's like, I got 3 offers for Montgomery.
Right.
And I was like, that shocks me.
Well,
3 offers, my God.
That's what he said.
listen, I will say, like, if you're looking at potentially replacing what I lost though in Derrick Henry, Montgomery is closer than the solutions that I've loaded that I have, right?
Fair.
Michael Carter also has a really good rest of season schedule, so I was hesitant to give up on him. Everybody's probably like, "Oh, look what he did Thursday." Like, I'll take
Yeah, you
86
got
total
80
yards in a
something, yeah,
terrible
sure.
game script from a running back that's not even the primary pass catching back on the team. So,
Or
like,
TD score.
what?
I said, or TD score.
Fuck you. Yeah, I know. Can't believe I didn't piggyback that one just as an emotional.
No,
thing.
it's a little
That's a
more
big miss.
Did I tell you about that?
No, we can talk off air. Off air. So anyways, all of that said and done, maybe I fucked up. It was a tough day for me. Jeff gives a first for Montgomery. Thoughts, Joe?
Could have gotten more.
For Montgomery?
I don't know. Probably for the first. I don't know. I don't love Montgomery. Herbert's kind of weird, but like nobody's gonna trade Montgomery for less than a first.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like one of those things where it's like depends how the guy does, but like
Look at Monty's
I don't
rest,
know.
look at Monty's rest of season schedule. It's the same thing that made him a stud last
Right.
year and a league winner. He's got a great schedule again. If he wasn't injured, of course, his price would be higher. So it's,
Yeah,
it's,
that's
it's, a,
true.
it's a moot point. But if he wasn't injured and it wasn't for Khalil Herbert, he's still a top 10 back guaranteed.
I agree.
He might still be that.
He might.
Nobody fucking knows.
No, right. It's one of those weird ones where like there's no real price, but it's not gonna be less than the first, so you had to pay the first to get a guy.
Right.
That's all.
Jeff is 100% preparing to do what he did a
Oh,
few years ago.
100%. Yeah.
He's
What's that?
acting like he's
Yeah.
out of it. He
I know.
knows he's going to sneak in, and Monty is a piece that gives him a legitimate chance.
That's
to
where the
ship.
secret Mike Evans trade's coming from.
100%
For sure.
All right, that's
Good talk,
David
good
Montgomery for a first. Vinny, any thoughts on it other than that? It was a 2023 first from Cybulski, so most likely a back half first next year
The only thing I'll say that's a little bit different is, I mean,
in 2 years.
Jeff has some backs, you know? Yeah, Jeff has some running backs, so
Yeah, he's going for it.
it's one of those things, like, who's he gonna start? I think it's even, even value trade. Like Joe said, you wouldn't get less for Montgomery. I think it's even trade. But I'll just, the only thing I have to say is Jeff has some backs on his team.
He does have some backs. He's got some backs. Make a run. Could make a run. All right, the next 2 trades we'll kind of talk about together because they're even on the spreadsheet together. So I sent Vinny Russell Wilson and Jared Cook for Joe's 2022 second, which I then gave to Jeff for James Conner. Vinny also gave me Kenny Galladay with that. That was more of a Ronnie eats the dead cap space from Vinny. So that was more on that's a value on Vinny's side more than mine.
Yeah.
Joe, you weren't involved, so why don't you talk?
The
A lot going on there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a shit ton going on. Like, I don't know if any of it matters.
Sure. That's
like, it's like,
yeah.
I don't know if any of these guys will ever see a starting lineup.
I mean, I might have to start Connor at some point.
I don't know if you do. Yeah, like I honestly don't know. Like I get why you did it. I get why everyone did it.
Right.
So like,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, like I don't know if it's gonna matter.
No,
Like Connor's a good head, just goal line back. I bought Chase Edmonds because I think he's undervalued.
For sure. I think they
They
can
are
both be undervalued.
Right, I think they're both undervalued.
When the Cardinals win games, which
Yeah.
they do more than they lose,
Right.
both of them touch the ball over 12 times
Yeah.
on average.
Yeah.
So who gets hurt more in a negative game script? It's Connor, right?
Right.
Because that's where Edmonds gets a
Right,
lot of his
yeah.
pass catching. But if they're winning games, they've both been producing at a high
Yeah,
level.
right.
Obviously, Connor is more touchdown dependent, but in the games he scored 2 touchdowns, he was very startable if he just gets 1.
Yeah, no, I agree.
That's all it was. I agree. It's nothing too
Yeah, it
crazy.
was, right.
A little tic-tac trade there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I mean, I like it.
Yeah, this next one I think is really interesting because it's a secret, not a secret. It's a sneaky kind of low-key move that involves a top 10, top 12 running back. So Joe receives Adam Thielen and Chase Edmonds from John. Not a common name on this spreadsheet.
No. And you have no idea how fast this deal came together.
Dear God.
Really?
Only the second
Insane.
trade he's done this year in season, according to the spreadsheet.
What was Joe's thought process through the trade?
I think Chase Edmonds is undervalued. All right, so I texted him at 8:34. 8:53. He texted me, do it up.
19 minutes.
That's
Any
pretty
back and
fucking
forth,
fast.
or you just sent him the initial offer and it came back?
A little back and forth. I said, any interest in mixing for Edmonds plus a wide receiver? So that's not a bad thought. And then he just said Thielen. I said, and then I responded, official offer, mixing for Edmonds and Thielen. Do it up.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
you want to give your thoughts or you want us to give ours first? It was your trade.
So my thinking was, I need a wide receiver at some point. Thielen is very, I mean, he's just a TD scorer. And like, I got a lot of backs. So like Mixon is gonna be a 20Z next year.
Sure.
He's been hard to deal. People don't like dealing for him.
Sure.
He's coming off 2 20-point games. He's injury prone. Get what I can for him right now before the window closes.
Yeah.
And I think Edmonds is better than his value in the league currently. And he's 3B.
I like it for Joe. I mean, needed a wideout.
Right.
Thielen, I like Thielen. I want to bet on him getting a touchdown today, by the way. So,
Love it.
you know, let's fucking go. Edmonds, cheap contract.
Yeah.
You know, fuck. But then also Mixon's a good player.
I was
So
going to say.
Mixon's great.
I think it's I don't mind John doing it either. I think it's just a good trade both ways and seems equal value to me.
Yeah, I have a hard time not liking the better player side in a trade like this, and John gets the best player in this trade.
Yeah.
But I'll say, like, if you look at John's lineup this week, he had to pick up Devonta Freeman to start as his RB2 now. So that giving up of depth costs John in the short term. So at a Y contract, you have to ask, what is John's motivation to go get Mixon for those 2 players? Thielen's contract was also expiring, so he has that, right? So he upgraded it back, but
Thielen's a Y.
right,
Yeah.
and so is Mixon.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So I'm saying with both of their contracts expiring next year,
Yeah.
right? It's not like Mixon is a long-term play for him.
No.
So he got the best player in this trade to do what with?
I view it as John has wide receiver depth and I have running back depth.
Yeah.
And we swapped. Like I needed a wide receiver. I don't like trading for wide receivers, but Edmonds gives me like the risk for my roster is injury. Like I got the depth. I'm not going to lose much if Mixon's out.
Sure. Agreed.
But I just need Edmonds on the bench in case a catastrophe happens.
Yep.
And I improve my wide receiver group. For
Yeah.
John, he's got a bunch. Well, John loves his wide receivers. He's got Claypool. He's got Devonta Smith. Like
Right,
for us, it's not doing it for us. But
Right.
John's dick's hard thinking about that.
right.
So in his mind, he gets Mixon and gets to start Claypool. Like win-win.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right, for sure.
Nailed it.
But the problem is now John's running backs are Mixon, Kareem Hunt, who is hurt, right?
Yeah.
Miles Sanders, who is hurt, Damian Williams, who is hurt, and probably the number 3 back on that team once Montgomery is back. So not only is he not starting a viable RB2, he's definitely not starting a running back in his flex.
Yeah, I don't know. He's been trying to get Thielen to me all season.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know.
I mean, Thielen is definitely a low floor kind of high ceiling guy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Touchdown dependent.
Yeah.
Yeah. But can still blow up, right? So very high ceiling. Okay. That's good. We skipped over the one big trade because it's not on the trade log. That's on Joe. That's his own trade that acquired Daryl Henderson, and maybe the trade that caused the most ripples throughout the league, at least that I can think of in recent memory.
It's not on the log.
I don't see
It's
it on
gotta
the
be on
log.
the log.
I think you're right. Shit.
It's not on the log. It's okay. It was
My bad.
CEH, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and a second round pick for Daryl Henderson. So we're going a bit out of chronological order to get to this trade, but it was a big one. I don't remember what year. the second
I
was.
covered it in the Pod Boys already.
No. You did.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
100%. I know, I watched. I'm saying you did.
Yeah.
But I want Joe to be able to talk about it because
Go for it. Go
I
for it.
think that Joe feels like the heat Tusk received was unwarranted.
Well, I think it's a process versus player debate. And everyone hates the player, clearly. And I think the process of Tusk selling, it was the right move for Tusk. I get you're saying you could wait later, see what happens in the season. But I think he's staring down 1-5. I think he's playing you or someone really strong next. He's looking at 1-6. He's got a guy that has to be extended. And I mean, how do you extend him more than 1 year with Akers still looming? We're not going to have answers come August next
For sure.
year. So I think for Tusk, it's like, I got this guy. If he gets hurt or I wait till next year, his value is going to go down. CEH is still a top 20 dynasty back. He's still 5B. So the process of selling Henderson for someone like a CEH, I think is good process. Like you do that over many years, you're going to get value over time. But CEH specifically, like I feel like your point is like, we hate this guy. Like not anyone but this guy. But if it's a 5B with another name, fine.
A bit. And we talked about it off air at the Halloween gathering, and I want Vinny to weigh in on kind of where I think, and you know where I'm coming from. My thought is that I don't think Tusk's team is as bad as everybody gives it credit for. I think his best chance to improve his #1 pick next year, which he owns his own, was to hold on to the top 10 running back that fell into his lap in Daryl Henderson, at least for the next 3 to 4 weeks before the trade deadline.
Right.
Try to get himself a couple more wins. He's in dead last right now. In my opinion, trading Daryl Henderson cemented the fact that his pick next year is 4th instead of 3rd, 2nd, or 1st. So now,
That's totally fair.
right. And then if you're going to make that move, you better bet your dick, you better go get a running back that you can really believe in next year. I don't think CEH is that guy.
Big matchup this week. I'm playing Tusk. I'm playing
Oh,
Tusk. And
is he starting CEH against you?
I don't think he's playing.
I don't think he's playing.
He's not.
Exactly.
What
A
he's-
fucking injury reserve running back on top of it.
But that's what I'm saying.
If Tusk wins,
If he wins, I
then it
think,
was worth it.
I think he kind of gets away with it a little
Right,
bit.
that's the thing.
If he beats me this week, he kind of gets away with it a little bit.
James Robinson's out.
I know. Yeah.
So-
Yeah.
It's a tough,
He only
Well,
gets
well,
away
so-
with it if we look back at the end of the year and say, okay, put Henderson in instead of whoever he started as his RB1, because Henderson was the best player on his team. And did that person's point differential make a difference? That's the only way we'll ever know
I know.
in all of his
Yeah,
matchups to get him to
right.
7 or 8 or 9. We'll never know until the end.
Maybe Tusk wants
I
to
agree.
pop.
But the thing
Maybe he
is-
wants to
but
pop.
the slit, that margin of error is not that significant.
No, and I wouldn't be beating his head into the ground for it if it wasn't CEH, who's on injured reserve. Even a healthy CEH, maybe we're not having the same discussion, but he traded for a
Right.
guy that's on injured reserve, that's been historically questionable with his production.
Nobody else in the league would be able to deal a running back with a sprained MCL on IR than Joe Zaccaria,
And get Daryl
than the
Henderson,
commissioner.
who is
And, oh,
surging,
yeah. And-
part of the most fucking productive offense in the league. Joe
Am I-
starts it.
Are we wrong?
Joe has like 6 backs and he starts Henderson.
Why would you not start a back in an offense like that?
100%. But it was
Come on.
probably sold as like, yeah, whatever. I'm taking this guy. You probably don't want to extend. He's Cam Akers backup. Cam Akers' Achilles is in 4 pieces right now.
Here's the only other point I'll make to defend Tusk is that he did put Henderson out there. And he did get offers. I forget what Lee was offering him, maybe 1 first or something.
Right.
It might have been less than that. Like
Right.
everyone knew I was in on the talks, I feel like.
Totally.
Everyone knew I was getting CEH.
Totally.
Like someone could have went over the top.
Totally. I mean, I couldn't because I don't have the equity, but
But a
people-
lot of people
right.
could have.
100%.
And so Tusk is sitting there talking to multiple people and he's like, fuck. No, it's like
100%.
It helps me that everyone else wouldn't offer.
100%.
Because it diluted the shit out of Henderson.
But my point was, what was the deadline?
No, I agree. I do not like if I hear you.
CEH isn't coming back the week after.
I
Like,
know,
take
I
your
agree.
time. Like,
I
if you're
agree.
not getting more offers,
He's worried
that you
about
wait.
injuries.
Look at Henderson's matchups
I
too.
agree.
He had some butters coming up. I mean,
He
look at
did.
last week. You wait till after last week. I don't know how somebody that has equity like Lee or Joe doesn't make a move for him. Not you, the other
No, I know,
Joe.
I got you.
I mean, Christ. I'm butthurt because, I almost had Henderson earlier on in the year. I fucked it up. And then, I
Yeah.
see him go to you. Of course I'm going to be a butthurt.
Buying injured players, I know it doesn't look good in the moment. It's not the worst. I bought AJ Brown hurt.
Right. What's a good example of a running back that was bought hurt and came back and did really good? I know. It doesn't ever happen. Anyways, we'll move on to the next
Saquon
one.
Barkley wants
To
his
me,
healthy.
You're still waiting on that one.
He's gonna come back.
I will say that trade though,
Joe Mixon.
the final thing, was just like, oncoming train coming after Rob, and Rob can't move, like Rob, no picks. Rob had no picks at the time, just can't do anything. He's in the pole position, he's in first place. And God.
I didn't even want,
Because-
at the time, I didn't even want to start Henderson. I just didn't want Henderson on fucking Joe's team.
I mean, to be honest, when we started discussions, he was gonna be a backup for me.
I know. But that's what's even more sick.
That is sick.
I gotta run out Michael fucking Carter, most underrated player in the league. Anyways, all right. That trade had ripples. I felt bad about all the heat that Tusk took, but at the end of the day, you can't feel bad. You gotta help them learn. All right, next one. You guys are gonna probably just fucking drag me. So Derrick Henry and Jeremy McNichols for 2 backups and 2 seconds. That'll be at the end of their year. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you would have sold them for anything, I feel like, so.
Would have taken 1 second for him. I'm not even joking. Oh,
For Derrick Henry.
I was in an emotional state, man.
He
Yeah.
was.
Why don't you ask me?
I threw him out there. No one else came to me. Again, to Alex's credit.
Did
What
you-
was same argument as Tusk? What was my deadline?
No, right.
I had none. Other than I wanted to make a move before I thought people were gonna be like, fuck Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this. I don't think you got nothing for him. What would you get? Like a second?
Elijah Mitchell, Darnell Mooney, who I actually value in Dynasty, maybe call me crazy, in 2 seconds.
Okay, so you got 2 seconds.
Here's my thought process. Henry's gonna be 28 years old next year. Let's say I hold him till the offseason, right? Which will probably be the best value he's gonna have for me in the future. And then I try to trade him. He's going into his 28-year season,
Yeah.
right? Probably gonna still be considered a top 10 back when he's back.
Probably.
So maybe I could get 2 firsts for him. Or right now I can take a gamble on
Maybe.
Elijah Mitchell, right?
Yeah.
Darnell Mooney, who I value both in Dynasty. I can keep Mitchell now if I want. He's 60
Right.
bucks. It's not cheap, but Miles Gaskin went for 52 in the
No, that's
auction this
fair.
year. If Elijah Mitchell's the #1 back on the Niners, he's going for 50 bucks.
At least.
And then I got 2 seconds with it.
No, that's
So
fair.
that was my thought.
I don't think you could get 2 firsts for Henry next year.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think so.
I thought you guys were really going to kill me for this trade. Where I fucked up, and I'll raise my hand, and I know you're going to go. To walk out of that trade without AJ Dillon is a very, very big mistake.
You probably could have gotten.
100%. 100%.
Yeah,
I could've.
that is a mistake.
It's a mistake.
You're right.
I think Alex likes AJ Dillon a lot.
Yeah, but he told me
But-
that he would have given it to me in that trade, like even when we were talking at first.
Mm.
Yeah.
Why'd you do it?
I mean, I don't really have a good answer. I mean, I'm not in this exact trade, you know what I'm saying? Like in trade talks, his name was out there. I could have made it happen, is what I'm saying. Go ahead,
Yeah,
speak.
I love you. I like the trade for Alex. Like you alluded to, I was actually thinking about offering you that back half first round pick for Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
That's
fair.
had a little bit of a busy week traveling
Sure.
to Michigan,
Understand.
had a lot going on.
Yep.
Because of what you said.
Yeah.
I thought I could have paid for him now, took his contract,
Got more value.
he gets healthy over the offseason, and then perhaps you sell him for 2 first round picks.
Right.
Or you fucking keep,
Right.
because
Right.
maybe hear some stories over the offseason that he's going to, still get all the carries and they're not gonna, put him in the
Yeah.
timeshare or something. Who knows?
Can I just say, like, I know this might sound crazy. I don't think I take your first over the trade that I did because I might need to start Eli
Eli
Mitchell.
Mitchell, yeah. I
know,
Eli
right.
Mitchell might be my 3rd best
Yeah.
running back.
I feel you.
I mean, I don't know.
I don't hate this trade for you.
that's where I was at.
No, it's
You know?
fair. Yeah.
That's where I was at.
Well, I think that's the thing, right? Is like the valuation of Henry was so like, in my mind at that point, I think I got swindled a bit because when Alex came with like these like general offers,
Yeah.
it was more than I thought Henry was worth to me. Right. So like, I'm thinking like
You're like,
maybe I can get a second or and a bench player for him. You know, Eli Mitchell to me is a startable running back. There's value
Yeah.
there. He's a rookie, right? Obviously that's a convoluted backfield too. I love Darnell Mooney in Dynasty. He's been underperforming this year because Fields has been
Bad
atrocious.
quarterback.
But I'll take a future wide
I
receiver
agree.
flyer and then 2 seconds. I mean,
Henry's got a Jones fracture. Yeah, his career's over.
do you think so?
I mean, he'll come back for sure.
Right, but he's never gonna be
Well,
that
you're gonna
guy
get
again.
30 carries
I know,
for 200 yards.
I know.
The Derrick Henry that was the last 3 years, he's gone.
That's what I thought.
We have to
Wow.
move on. Derrick Henry's done. I mean, will he produce? Yes.
Sure.
30, 40 points every other week and all this crazy shit.
Days are over.
He's
No,
gone.
I know.
The Titans would be idiots to even give him that much work. They were idiots
I know.
to give him that much work.
I know. So true.
Ruin his career.
They did.
Dude,
I mean, his career's over. He's 27.
He's gonna be 28 at the start. of the one.
Yes.
Yeah, dude, it's so sad too, because he's such a great player. It's terrible. He hasn't looked right too the last couple
Yeah,
of weeks,
yeah.
like especially last week. Something
Cheers
was
to
off.
Derrick Henry's career, one of the best fantasy backs of all time.
Hey, little side note, guess who's playing today? My little toss-in from Vinny's side, Kenny Galladay can be back out there today. That warms the heart a little.
Why don't you,
I think
you know,
that-
a little plug and
I might end
play?
up starting
might start
Galladay at
him,
some
hey.
point. Not right now, but maybe at some point.
Okay.
I probably should start him
I
today.
hope he
over-
does well
I
for you.
should start him today over Julio Jones. I really probably should.
By the way, I'm sorry, Julio Jones?
Hey, he's fucking healthy. I got Godwin on a bye.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Everybody.
I hope Galladay does great for you, Bob.
Yeah.
By the
Hey,
way.
real quick, before we move on to the next trade, and we gotta get it moving here. It's already
Yeah,
getting late.
we got.
Now that I lost Henry, where do I power rank? 4?
Number
What does
2.
one player do to me?
Oh, hold on, our producer's signaling to us.
Not
Oh,
true.
still ranked number 1 according to producer rankings.
He said 4. I agree, 4. So
Rob's here.
this next trade was one of the
More
crazy.
trades
This trade
Last
Oh,
trade
yeah.
might be the craziest trade
We've ever seen.
we've ever seen,
Yeah.
solely because of the positioning of the 2 managers involved.
Didn't see it coming.
Lee
Actually,
overreacted.
Everybody relax. Let me give the
Lee
trade.
overreacted.
No, let me give the trade. Alvin Kamara, back to daddy.
Oh,
He's going back to Alex
hate to see it.
for a Josie 2023 first, a Cybulski 2023 first, Alex Collins, and the oft-traded Brian Edwards. Commissioner, you lead us off.
I hate to believe that Brian Edwards had something to do with this trade, but in my heart, I know it probably did. But I think Lee overreacted to Winston's injury. I mean, he's probably worried about Taysom Hill taking goal line touches. Maybe that might still happen, but I mean, Trevor Simeon's a starter now.
Right.
The only reason it makes sense is Lee being worried about like touchdown rates and Hill. But I mean, fuck, he's a stud.
Vinny,
Well,
go ahead. Any more?
it's just like, do you want to play for this year or not?
Right,
And he's not. He said, I'd rather take the hedge
right,
and get the 2 first. That's it.
right.
I mean,
Vinny,
I mean, you nailed it. Yeah. Like, I've had a feeling for a few weeks that Lee wanted to kind of wrap it up this year. He's been making the moves. He's been slowly getting rid of the players that he's not going to keep for the next year.
Stephon Diggs is on the block,
And
for Christ's sake.
Stefan's on the block. To me, it was a shock because if I was in his position, I would want to play to win. Again, not going to make the same mistake that I made, a few years ago when I was in first place, and I could have sold to win the championship. But, yeah, dude, I was just a little shocked that he did it.
It's weirder to me after the Henry injury. Like, your team was loaded, but like the
The timing.
Henry injury happens, and it's kind of like,
You make a
okay,
push.
opens the door.
like this is like,
Yeah.
it's wide open now. Like,
Yeah.
And then he goes and
Good point.
maybe he's like, okay, now that Rob is less, I can be less a little bit and
Maybe.
sell. I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe.
Wow. No,
So-
that's, dude, you brought, I mean, good point. Yeah, like if Rob goes through that injury, you push. You could push him.
Right, you get pushed now.
If Lee makes a
Or you
trade
can
for
come
a-
back because you think you're fine.
If Lee makes a trade for like a good ass player, Rob, that train's getting a little closer for Rob. you know,
Right.
it's closing in and Rob's freaking the fuck out.
Okay, couple things. First of all, everybody acts like, and he loves it, that Joe is not the top dog. He loves it. Don't fool your fucking selves. Secondly,
I do.
I will say about Lee,
I love it.
the motivation behind this trade, you guys touched on it, is a fundamental, we talked about it. I sat down with Lee in a premium, it's gonna be released on our Podcast Plus subscription website, just Lee and I sitting down to talk about this trade. He believes there's going to be a fundamental change in the way that the New Orleans Saints play offense. If you look at Kamara this year, his efficiency is actually down. Where he's holding his fantasy value is through an increase in usage. And
Yeah.
Lee believes that this injury to Jameis gives the defenses an ability to really truly just hone in on Kamara, so that even with that increased usage and decreased efficiency, he's not worth it anymore. Lee was able to get back the value that he gave up for Kamara in 2 firsts and some bench players.
Brian Edwards is first round.
First round pick, yes.
3 first round.
Right, that's true.
Brian
Brian
Edwards.
Edwards in this league might be worth 2 first round picks at the
True.
point. But to my point, you only have a certain window on a guy if you lose faith to get the
Yeah.
value you paid back, and he got that back for Kamara. So
I
while
agree.
we're all crucifying Lee right now, saying he must not be going for it this year, he has 2 extra firsts now. Like,
does.
he can
Oh, yeah.
still make a move for this
No,
year.
that's true.
I'm
You
not
know?
saying the value's back.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not saying the value
No,
is
I get
either.
I'm saying Lee got a good return.
I told Lee in person the day he was doing all this trade negotiation, I said, Lee, if it was me, and this is my #1 competitor outside of Joe, I said, Lee, if it was me, I wouldn't trade Kamara. It's one of the most valuable things to have in this league is a surefire running back. Even if he decreases in usage, Kamara is still that.
Yeah,
And I still feel that way, but I understand
I get it was good
it
value.
was good value.
It's just, if he was in 4th or 5th.
Yep.
Or 6th, it makes so much sense.
Okay, before we wrap it up with Vinny's
Yeah.
players to press the panic button on,
Yeah.
we talked about that entire trade from Lee's perspective.
Yeah.
What is going on with Alex? He's now traded for Derrick Henry,
Good fucking luck figuring that
Alvin
out.
Kamara back, right? And there was another trade too. Hold on, it's going to register when I take a look at it. So he's traded for Allen Robinson, Derrick Henry, and Alvin Kamara back. Those 3 players have a combined salary of $217. What is Alex
I
doing?
mean, Allen Robinson doesn't count in my opinion. He's gonna drop him. But I mean, I think he was like, and Alex had no good guys on his team. Like, I wanted no one on Alex's team. And he's got Kamara and Henry. I don't want him, but I mean, Kamara, he could do damage with that.
Yeah, it's interesting because he started the season with Kamara on.
Yeah. It's yeah, that is crazy.
I mean, he traded you for Henry, obviously, but he had
Well, no,
Kamara
no,
on
last
Henry.
year, yeah.
Yeah.
Henry, oh, you're
You
right.
took Henry
Fuck,
through
you're
the
right.
draft.
You're right. You're right.
And then he
And I
traded for
him.
him. So he had Kamara, Henry, AJ Brown, DJ Moore, right? So he had all of these
It's
guys.
kind of crazy.
Now he traded for 2 of them back.
You're right. Shit.
But he did get a cheap price on Henry. So I don't know maybe he believes Henry will be back, but.
He loves Kamara. I mean,
Right.
that's
But it's just interesting because if you look at his team now, he doesn't have a lot of pieces around Kamara.
No.
So what is his angle? Is he going to keep Henry and play for next year with Henry and Kamara?
I think so. I think that's the only angle.
It has to be.
That's the angle.
Or,
It's gotta be.
or sell them in for more value. But he was obsessed with the 2023 draft class. He just gave up 2 of those firsts for Kamara.
Yeah.
It's true.
He was, and he
I-
just
I
gave them
think-
up.
You know, also we have to ask, does the trade maybe play into this year a little bit too? Right? Because he's gunning for that 7th pick. Does he have his own
Yeah.
2023 or
Yeah,
2022
he
pick,
does.
right?
Yes,
Yeah.
he
He's going for
He's,
7.
he's going for that 7th pick.
So you get Henry,
you know, he
the
really
first
wants-
running back, and Kamara. There you go.
He really wants, he
2022.
really wants Kenneth fucking Walker. Maybe I shouldn't say any names here, but he really wants that Kenneth Walker. First pick overall. The guy's an absolute stud.
Yeah.
And right now, also DeShitz is in 7th, but he doesn't have a lot of points right now.
Yeah.
If Najee by nature wins one more game, Najee by nature gets 7th. And gets Kenneth Walker
with a DeShit's loss.
with, if
Yeah.
DeShitz.
Oh, and they're
loses.
playing each other this week.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
so
So if Najee
So-
wins, he jumps him for the
Yeah.
7th spot.
exactly, that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. So maybe that plays into it a little bit too. Maybe Alex saw his, team kind
Yeah,
of
no,
trending
that's
down a
true.
little bit more and he realized he needs to win a couple more games to get that 7th place maybe.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out there.
It's a
No,
good
that's
point.
fair.
I like it.
We'll see.
Why don't you pour yourself another glass while I talk to Vinny about some panic button players?
Okay.
All right. Vinny,
I can't put in my bets.
you can put in your bets too. We're at week 9, which seems insane to even say. You've been pretty good about nailing people that are on the panic button. Cooper Cup might have been a bit of a miss. We won't bring that one up.
Remember what I said though? I said he plays Detroit in 2 weeks and then he's gonna go fucking
Yeah,
off.
there you go. Yeah,
So I didn't press it on him.
all right. Regardless, give us your week 9 panic button players. At least 2.
Dude, it's tough to find, man, because there's a lot of players that are just fucking crushing it right now, and not a lot of them are really struggling too bad. I do have to say though, you know, I always start at the top of the league and I go down. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to, you know, hurt the little guy too much. You know, me, Tusk, Jeff, Alex at the bottom. You know, we've had a tough season. I don't really want to.
It's a bit of a fraternity down
dig
there.
into, yeah,
I've been there.
A lot of love down at the bottom here.
For sure.
But starting out here, this is a player that I actually love. I think this guy's a stud. I got 2 guys, by the way, and you'll see right here.
Woo! That's a spicy
This-
one.
And this is a name that people don't really talk about too much. Okay,
I like that.
people do not fucking talk about this guy much. Blew it up last year, his rookie season. This year, he's had some good games.
That's mine though.
The last couple weeks, though,
You're not having that?
I'm gonna get something else.
he had 6 points against Carolina, had the bye week. He had 2.1 points against Dallas.
Okay.
I'm talking about Justin Jefferson,
Woo!
wide receiver, Minnesota Vikings.
We're talking about a young stud right
Young
now.
stud, not afraid to call out young studs here. His next schedule, his coming schedule, look at this. He's got Baltimore, 25th ranked against the pass. In a good way, it's a bad matchup.
Watch out for that cork.
Yeah, I saw.
Look at these matchups. Baltimore, and he's got Chargers, Green Bay, San Francisco.
Ooh,
Some tough matchups coming up for Jefferson and the Vikings pass offense.
yeah.
And yeah, he got 6 and then he got 2. I like Thielen as well, so I mean, we'll see how that goes. I'm not pressing it on him. I'm not, but it's close.
Your hands on the button.
But it's close. I expected better because I love the player.
Panic player
That's
number 1, Justin Jefferson. We didn't test this audio. I hope you can hear this whole thing. That makes me a little nervous. Vinny, panic button player number 2.
I'm just gonna go right
Yeah,
down the list here,
funny.
actually.
We just won't send it out.
Yeah,
It
we
gives
just
it
had fun.
And this is a player that I think the owners kind of get a little anxious of as well too here. Started out really, really hot and he's cooled off the last couple weeks. We got big Mike Williams.
Oh, yeah.
The next.
Wow.
Next. Yeah, Joey Sy, I love you. Lee, I love you. But big Mike Williams,
Oh, yeah.
3 weeks ago, he had the bye a couple weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, 2.7 points. Had the bye week, and then he had 1.9 points.
I don't even have to look at your statistics to tell you 4 out of the last 5 weeks, Mike Williams has had less than 2.7 fantasy points.
Oh my God. He blew up for 28 points the week before, and then you're absolutely right. 1.1
And
the week
Keenan
before
Allen.
that as well, too.
Keenan Allen's been.
So
4 out of the last 5 with less than 2.7.
I mean, I like Mike Williams myself.
My
That's
God.
another player that I love, but
It's
You
such
know,
like a
shoot.
first 3 games he did well, and then he
Oh,
fell off, but
so-
everyone loves him still because
I know.
hey, he could go back. He
100%.
could go back.
Yeah. Lee's frustrated because he's put him on the block and I don't think he's getting a ton of traction.
Yeah.
What's before you get into your next guy, what's the value on somebody like Mike Williams? Had 3 big weeks to start the season, almost like a kind of a Tyler Lockett deal.
He's a guy you can't trade
it's tough.
because no one's going to give you more than 1 first, and you're not going to give out less than 1 first.
Yeah.
So he just sits on your roster.
It's a great answer.
You
It's
hope he
great.
does. You
Yeah.
hope he does good, and you try to trade.
Yeah.
You try to trade Diggs.
Yeah.
Right.
You hope
And,
somebody gets hurt
Right.
and Mike Williams blows up that week so that they have to trade for him.
Yeah. Do you start him though? Like if you're Lee? Because I mean,
Who's
he
Lee
can
got,
blow up
Lee?
for 30. He can blow up for 30, but he just showed you 4 out of 5. He put up less than 2.7.
Hey, maybe now we know why Lee traded for DJ Moore.
Maybe.
There it is.
There it
He's
is.
worried. Lee already pressed the panic button. He just didn't make it public. He just didn't make it public.
He did. He did.
Panic button's been
yeah.
pressed. You pressed eject, you got DJ Moore.
Maybe.
Man.
Anybody else be?
There's a couple guys I have on my radar. I mean, I think I brought his name up before, but Claypool, Joe brought it up. Not a guy that you really want to start, but like Saucon loves him.
But he's gonna do good this week.
He's only had one game over 10 points this entire season. So Claypool.
And he had what? He had 2-3 touchdown games last year,
Yeah.
right?
Can we not talk about him? I play him this week.
Sorry. I didn't mean.
Yeah, no,
I
it's
didn't mean to
okay.
jinx
It's
it.
gonna happen.
I'm playing Big Mike Williams, so we're probably both gonna eat crow on this one. Oh,
He's a fucking pro. Huh?
yeah.
No, I agree.
Yeah, he's just not.
To the panic button players.
To the panic button players.
May they turn it around.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Enjoy this Sunday of football. We put in a lot of effort to make this come out before the game, so hopefully we'll have it to you by kickoff time. If not, enjoy this Sunday and enjoy how bad we whiffed on the takes this Sunday proves wrong. Cheers.
Cheers, boys.
Stop it. Yeah, there you go. Boom. Just once. It'll tell you when you stop. Hold on, it's still going. I got it.